Here today with our podcast called Soul Memphis. Look, representing M. Look, make sure you tune in YouTube. Make sure you also subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are available on Apple, Android devices. Make sure that you also share this and let your friends know that look, there's a new podcast on the scene. And look, we're just here to represent everything, all things Memphis. And so we're just not talking about the city. We're talking about the extensions and how Memphis reaches around the world, all right? And so I have my co-host with me, a good friend, my brother from another mother, Donté Pryor. Gonna say something to the people there?
Just glad to get this jumped off,
Right.
We've been talking about it for a while and excited about it. It's something new for me, but I think it's well needed, for the guys especially. That's the way I feel about it.
All right, that's good. And so today we have a special guest, another good friend of ours, Lat-Doir Glasper. Lat-Doir Glasper, man of wisdom, many talents, and also a man of means. And so we're here today. And so today we want to just talk about fathers. And so we all come from different dynamics, different households, different areas, and so it brought us to this point where we came from something different, but now we share something the same, and that's fatherhood.
Yeah.
So when you hear fatherhood, what do you think about first?
First of all, I want to say I'm just really excited to be here with my two light-skinned brothers, and there's some darkness, some hue to the thing. But for me, fatherhood used to be a term of pain and disappointment. Not growing up with a father, and I don't care how tough a guy he is or how much money he makes. You always want to know where you came from, and if you don't see that, there's something in you that makes you wonder: are you good enough?
Right.
And I'm sure we'll get into some of those things. But as I've grown and became a father, and I've had the opportunity to give to somebody what no one gave to me, I now, when I hear the word fatherhood, I think of joy, excitement, consistency, just daily duty, and I have no understanding why anyone who could be a father wouldn't want to be one. Because it's like, man, I'm a girl dad. And it's not a job, it's not a chore, it's not even a responsibility. It's like a pleasure. Every day I'm just knowing what my girls need. If I even take it a step further, not to say too much, but those are both the natural senses, but even being a pastor, being a spiritual father. When I think of, even growing up in ministry and not being covered, and you're trying to figure it out on your own, but now, again, giving somebody what I don't have, those who are my spiritual sons and daughters, making sure that they know that they're loved and protected. I'm not looking for an offering from them per se. I'm trying to see what I can give. I guess in a nutshell, there's this amazing company, Legacy Financial. I think of just even the name of their company. When I think of being a father, legacy. What does my legacy look like? What am I leaving in there? So I went from extreme sad emotions with the word to now having extreme positive emotions.
Right. No, it's definitely interesting to say, because you said that at one time it represented pain.
Yeah.
So when did you experience, or when did you recognize that pain was there? Because I know there was a time when you knew your father wasn't there.
Yeah.
But when did that pain actually manifest itself when you recognized? It may have been your life.
Man, because I recognized it around the 4th grade.
Wow.
Around the 4th grade, seeing summertime come and an older person and a younger person playing ball, being in a fight in East St. Louis, and somebody say, "I'm gonna go tell my daddy." Or somebody say, I'm in the neighborhood, and somebody say, "Man, I'm here. Where you going?" Me and my dad going fishing. I'm like, "Where mine at?" And I never forget my father coming to visit me. This is my last visual image of him. He came to visit on my birthday. He came in. I think I may have been in the 4th grade. Yeah, still the 4th grade. He came in the house, was there maybe 10 minutes, spoke to my grandmother, and walked out. So it's just this fleeting thing. And so the pain was always there of making you wonder what's wrong with you, why someone doesn't want you, and then just trying to act like, you're okay. So there's always this huge hole because you can't help but see someone has something that you don't have that you're supposed to have, but for whatever reason you don't. So it followed me my entire life. And if I be transparent, from that angle, that portion still is painful. Because even now, as a man with means and a beautiful marriage, there's still not that person that I can call and say, hey, Dad.
Do this. Yeah.
Even if, or hey, Dad, are you proud? There's just no space. And so I'm having to be the first generation that will be a father, a grandfather. So now my goal is to make sure no one behind me feels what I'm yet still feeling. So I noticed it as early, to answer the question, as early as the 4th grade, and now being almost 50, I still notice it.
Wow. So
that sounds sad, don't it?
It's real though. It's real.
They gonna start crying in the middle. Don't start crying.
Yeah, but no, that's real though. You think about it because I don't. I was come from pretty much the same type of neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. Impoverished neighborhood, and so we've seen single mothers. You guys have been part of coming up in a home a single mother, but no matter how strong that single mother is, and we know women are stronger than us.
Absolutely.
We're not saying that.
Right.
But a man needs a father.
Yeah, absolutely.
He needs a father. So when you had your first child, or when you found out you were about to be a father, did any of that begin to try to regurgitate or come back up in you as far as a fear of being a good father? Did you feel in those feelings?
Here's the thing. I didn't feel fear, but I felt a huge reverence.
Okay.
I knew it was a serious thing.
Wow.
And by that time, this had to be a whole nother podcast. By the time I had my first daughter, I was married to the right woman.
Wow.
And being married to the right woman, certain things had happened. This girl said to me one day, this is so fly. I was in college, and I was, can I be transparent? Is this so Memphis? Can we be transparent? It's so Memphis. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's I was able to be this is when it was Memphis State, not University of Memphis. I was on the phone with my wife, and I was talking about just not having my father, because I see my father. He's an actor. I see him on movies.
Wow.
And a very prominent rapper is my first cousin. When I say his name, folks like, what? Like, I don't want to, we plug nobody. But I remember my wife saying, I'm telling her about how irresponsible my father is.
Okay.
He's making money. His wife is a professor,
Yeah.
but he has no value for finding me. And she says to me, if he had raised you, would you be who you are? I said, no way.
That's powerful.
If you're responsible and he's not,
Wow.
if you're faithful and he's not, if you're committed and he's not,
Wow.
then the chances are, had he raised you, you'd be somebody different.
Wow.
Now, in that moment, my hatred for him left,
Okay.
and my focus on being a good father came. Now, this was the moment of reverence.
Okay.
This was my objective. I didn't know what it was to be a good father, but I knew what I wish I had had.
That's it.
So the first thing I did was, I said, I'm going to make sure she feels, I only have girls,
Okay.
I'm going to make sure she feels the opposite of what I felt. What would I have wanted a dad to do?
Wow.
What would I have wanted a dad to say?
Wow.
So I didn't have a model other than, if I be honest, Bill Cosby on the Huxtables.
Yeah.
I saw an image
Yeah.
of a doctor, a fine wife, that's a lawyer,
Yeah.
some crazy kids, they got money, they bowed it, they sound like they're from Memphis, you know what I'm saying? And so I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to make sure that our girls, or what our baby girl Kylie at the time, feels different than I felt. And I took it so serious, for the ladies, don't get mad, ladies, y'all ain't gonna like this. But I told my wife, that's not your baby, it's mine.
Wow.
So that's a strange concept.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah,
That's
that
a
is.
powerful statement, though.
But it's biology.
Right.
The sperm is the baby.
Right.
Ooh, y'all done turned, don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
That's why I say to men, quit arguing over child support, argue over custody.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's it.
And so I developed a focus to be a father that had nothing to do with what my marriage was or what our relationship was. I knew that I owed this seed that came out of my body something. And, I just went forward from that way. I'm going to give the love I wish I had.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the attention I wish I had. I'm going to give the patience I wish I had. I'm going to give the money I wish I had. So much so that sometimes my girls through the years say, Daddy, don't take all of that. And I tell them, it does for me. I don't know how to be nothing else with this. So that was it. So I won't say it was fear, but I will say there was a reverence. I couldn't be afraid of not doing it because I had never saw it done wrong. I just didn't see it at all.
Okay.
See, that's a whole nother thing, Dave. There's a whole nother thing. Because a lot of people had fathers, but they had a bad father. So what do you do when you seen it, but seen it wrong? See, I had no concept. Because there wasn't a bad one or a good one, it just wasn't none. So I at least had the opportunity to create a perspective, as opposed to trying to heal from one, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense because, like I said, I know we, like I said, had different dynamics growing up. And so for me, growing up in, the neighborhood, grew up in Owen Mound,
two fingers round, three fingers down.
So it was, for me, I had a great father. Phenomenal father.
Absolutely. I was jealous. When I met your dad,
Really?
man, I was so jealous.
I'm jealous.
You're jealous too? I used to soft spoken. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Now, David was one of those rich gangsters. They were one of the rich gangsters. I'm like, look at me, gonna be rich and can fight and smooth and got a daddy too. I was bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead and talk about your dad.
We used to call it pretty boy thugs. That's the term.
That's the blood. That's what the blood said. I'm a corner boy. I'm a field hand.
I'm a pretty boy thug. Right? That's it. Right? So, but for me, that was a pressure for me growing up to not put my daddy out there as a good father.
Wow.
Because it was very rare.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
So for me to be accepted, it was like, I had to kind of hide that I had a good father. You see what I'm saying?
Man.
For me to be accepted, in the neighborhoods, on the corners,
that's
just with my peers.
Yeah.
So I'm hiding my father as a good father, right? By just not talking about him because it made it easy for me because my father was a truck driver. So sometimes he'd be gone 7 days or whatever, just driving. He'd drive to Canada. He'd go long distance and stuff, come back. And so for me, I didn't really speak of my father in that sense, but at the same time, I was appreciative of him, but I wanted to be like everybody else in that sense, just the wrong thinking. You know what I'm saying? Thinking wrong, like, it's more socially acceptable in the hood. The more you struggle.
The more you struggle.
Being a part of the majority.
Right. The more you struggle, right? Yeah. And you made fun of, we hear this terminology for quote unquote talking white.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Being smart. And so for me, like one thing I did one year, cause I was just a smart kid. I got out of all the AP classes. I just dropped it. I dropped all the AP, all the classes because I wanted to be more accepted.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? Because I went to the neighborhood school, but I was not in the class with any of none of my classmates were the people who were in the same neighborhood, who rode the bus to school with me, that we played football with. None of those people in class, but I was in class with other people who didn't look like me. But not knowing that God was preparing me for where I was going. So I was ashamed that I'm like, I ain't in no AP class. I got out of it. And I began to just develop this, wanting to be accepted,
So now you got to create a whole nother persona. But ain't that so Memphis?
That's so Memphis. At the same time, because what happens is we get to the point to where we're trying to be so real that we fake. Yes, sir.
Y'all take off from
You know what I'm saying? We're trying to create this image of being so real, so hard, so gangster, so thug. You know what I'm saying? You know Memphis. We know Memphis. Don't say it like it. I tell you like, but we're not really being ourselves. I know other guys who, were, hustlers and, sold, lots of drugs who were extremely brilliant. But it wasn't socially acceptable in the hood to be smart. So while they could have possibly started a business, they begin to sell drugs. Same concepts.
Same concepts.
Economics.
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But nobody was there to point them or to redirect their energy, like you said earlier, to where they can be accepted and say, hey, I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or I'm starting a business, or I'm not going to do wrong with this and that. And so that also comes, from fatherhood.
Yeah.
Right? Because, my father was there to, steer me in those directions. Yeah, and to keep me from going here and there, and to provide that discipline. Right? If a river only runs the direction of the banks around it. A river only runs the direction of the banks around it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if there's no banks, there's no restraint.
No restraint.
Like we saw, Hurricane Katrina and different things like that.
Yeah.
That water go run wild.
Yeah.
And that's how we are without fathers.
Yeah.
Without guidance. We need that. We need that restraint to direct us into the right place. We need those dams to say, no, it's time for you to stop. This is as far as you can go.
Right.
Yeah, your friends may go over there.
Yeah.
But you can't go over there.
Parameters and standards.
Yeah, we need that. And that's what we are as fathers.
Do you think that your father had any idea that you didn't want to represent him openly? Do you think he ever knew?
I don't think he ever knew, because if you know my dad, my dad just from the country. Yeah. He just could be what
he's the most honest person.
Yeah. He's not the most fashionable person. And so he's a guy though. He's a guy 110%. But and so that's a great question. Cause one time he showed up at the school. Yeah. And I don't know if I forgot lunch or something. I don't know what it was. But, he came up there and I saw him in the hall and I ran to him.
You took off.
I ran to him. You know what I'm saying? And because that's my dad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
However he dressed, duct tape on his belt.
That's
that's him. That's my dad. So I wasn't ashamed of him, but it was that pressure, that pressure coming out, and so we feel that, and so as growing up as fathers, what do you think about the pressure of just like you guys both have girls, you got two, you got one, raising your girls in the time we live in, right? Coming from where we were pre-Christ, right? Pre-salvation, the things that we did, right? To now, you guys raising girls,
You started down because I got a headache just with the question.
Oh man, that's something that goes through my mind on a daily, man. You want to protect them. You want to, you kind of you as a male, you know the intentions. You know the intentions of what they can face. Because we've been that age. We've been there. We like girls. We love women. All that. We all have wives. So it's a scary thing. I put it like that.
Right.
It's a scary thing because you want them. You want the best for them in every area. Right. You want the best husband they can have.
Right.
That can produce the best life for them.
Right.
So I don't have the answer for that. I just try to every day think of some way to connect. I always try to talk to her about certain things as far as dating, the difficult conversations.
Right.
We have those now that she's older. Yeah. She just recently turned 18.
Right.
It's just getting started.
So we have those difficult conversations, even when she don't feel like talking about it. I may come out the woodworks with, where you get that question from? It's just something that came on me at the moment.
Right.
But I really was listening to you guys about the fathers. You having a dad. I have your father. I was able to relate, to you so much.
Right.
It was almost like you was talking for me at some point when you was talking. I didn't have my dad growing up.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he didn't want to be there. my dad, he passed.
Man,
He passed when I was about 3, 4 years old. So I never got that experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, but you also spoke about not having anything to look at. You know, both sides, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did have a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could say, you know, things of. It was a lot of things that I seen and heard in my household with him and my mom that I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I didn't think that, you know, a woman deserved it or should have been done a certain way or those things. So as I put it now, you know, when I got to where I was creating my own family, I was able to see that, hey, basically he showed me a lot of things that I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things that are not right.
Yeah.
You know,
So you not having that model of not having the right way. What do you think that came from? Because you mentioned that you saw him do some things that you felt were out of the way. Do you think that was because it was your mother, or you thought that it was because this is not the way women in general should be treated?
I think it was just within me that it wasn't right. You know, honestly, I didn't have an example. You know, I had a couple of buddies. You know, my closest friends growing up younger. You know, only one of my good friends that he really had both parents in the house. Okay. You know, I had 2 other close friends growing up. You know, they were like me. They had a mom. I had a stepdad, but I consider a single parent. You know, you know, because I didn't get anything from it. You know? So, but you know, it was just, it was almost like I said, it was just within me to just know. It was just something in me just knew. You know, and now that I'm older, mature, wiser, you know, have a relationship with God now, and you know, I reflect back now and I just give him the credit. Yeah. You know, honestly, because I think he was being the father that I didn't have to keep me from going certain ways, doing certain things. Because I was around a lot. I was around, you know, we all, like I said, we sold Memphis. We've been around the legal and the illegal. You know, so you know, I just felt like, you know, it was just in me. You know, it was in me not to understand that's not the way that a woman should be. You know, treated. You know, they deserve better. And then also it would have been your mother that makes it. That adds another layer. Yeah, definitely. You know, and you know that was one of my when we talked about doing the podcast and the father topic. You know, that was one of my questions I always have been is, you know, what do we call a good father? You know, what is a good father? Is there a true definition? You know, can either one of you elaborate on that?
Well, that's real because I mean, although we are, like we mentioned several times, we are all married. Right. We all have our children, you know, in the home with us. Right. That's not everybody's reality. Right. And at the same time, that leads me to, you know, what I'm about to say is that doesn't necessarily mean a person is not a good father. Right. That's what I'm thinking. You know, that just because a person is not there 24/7 in the home with the child doesn't automatically negate, you know, or, you know, nullify him being a good father. Right. Because he's not in the home, you know. And so, I mean, how do we?
You know, for me, you know, there's a couple things. And I hope we even get to the space of talking about blended families because, you know, there was so much trauma not having my biological father. My mother did get married, and for a few years there was a stepfather there. But you know, it was hard for me to kind of look at him as dad for a while. But later on in life, I realized there were some good things there that I picked up. That's when we became Muslim, being raised by him. So I want to hit that at some point. But for me, I really, especially. We sold Memphis, and Memphis is a churchy town, so and we Christians, so y'all get a little of this Jesus. Jesus. Right. And so I look at it from the perspective of what does our Heavenly Father provide for us? He is caring, He's loving, He's long-suffering, He's resourceful. He can answer any problem we have. So I look at myself as a good father when the children that I have, no matter where they fall, I'm big enough to catch them. If they fall financially, emotionally. See, I believe a father doesn't hover and cover. He undercovers.
That's good.
See, my goal is not to control.
That's a great point. Like I said, as Christians, we do have a standard.
We got a standard.
Yeah. But and we want our kids to meet this standard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But when they fall short of that, we have to resort to our Heavenly Father for instruction, for guidance, and for a model. Because when we go left, He don't cast us away.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
He doesn't.
Yeah, man.
And the Bible says He's long suffering.
Yep.
Right? His grace it covers all. It says mercy endure forever. Right? And it's one whole song that's just repeated.
Yeah.
Continuously. And so, with that being said, a lot of times in our natural state, we try to put time limits on our children. And say, "Oh, you got to be saved
This by this.
or good to my standards by this time." But God don't operate like that. He don't operate like that. So that's why I said I wanted to unpack that what you said there. And so,
because I think
what
a lot of guys are doing is they confuse being a father with being a king. See, a king lords over. Do this when I said it, how I said it, where I said it.
Right.
Whereas a father, he doesn't lord, he leads.
Right.
A good father is one who is leading by example.
Yeah.
And literally saying, follow my actions. Not just do what I say, but follow my actions.
Right.
Give standards, and then if you fall short, I still can catch you. Because I'm big enough.
Yeah.
But something that's happened strange that, and I know we'll do mothers maybe. I'm talking about we. This your house show.
We good. Bring you on, man.
As parents, we've looked at our children as the first thing in our lives that we have control over.
Yeah.
And now we determine our headship by their fellowship. When our real headship is their security. Even when they wrong, can they run to you when they're in trouble? See, I know I'm a good father because even when my children have been disobedient, they know when they get bad, if I call daddy, whether he need to bring a bullet or a Bible, he got me. Because I'm so Memphis. Like that's Memphis. Like, we can handle whichever way you come. Whatever the situation is, I'm going to get this Glock 40 and I'm bringing this 40. This Bible. Psalms 40. You see what I'm saying? So you know you're a good parent. You know you're a good father when your children really understand that whether you are in the Clark Kent, giving instruction, structure, or Superman, I'm coming to tell everything and bring you out there. That's what I think that is. When your kids can have that confidence, I think you're a good father. That's not geographic. You can be across the country.
Well, I feel like I'm still growing in those areas because I like what you said. Giving it defining what a good father could be, or what you consider a good father. Because I'm always measuring myself. Because like I said, I really didn't understand what is a good father. So I just try, and I go back to what you said earlier too. A lot of things that didn't feel good to me, I didn't like growing up. I tried to make sure my kids didn't feel that. I tried to make sure they didn't feel a lot of the feelings that I felt. Growing up, so that was one of the main things that I had to deal with. As a father, so just it's just this father topic. I could talk about it all day. I can listen all day. Because that's the type of person I am. I like to learn. I want to get better because I feel like I'm late in the learning game. Anyway,
all the time.
I
just heard something crazy because. Like we can put a whole lot of things because some people don't go to church at all. But I think when the intent of the heart matches the actions of the man, so the intent of the heart is good, and then the actions become good, you'll find a good father. Because a lot of times people have the I wish I could, but you don't see no movement toward it. Or you see people who just paying bills. I did this, I did that, but their heart is not connected. So that's what makes you're already a good father because your heart is towards your children, and then you put your actions toward it. In a nutshell, that's it. That all that I am is going toward them. Now I can't be David, right? you got to be Bill Gates to be there.
Exactly.
I mean, that wasn't how to do it. That was that next thing. Right?
Yeah.
But all that I have, I give. All that I am, I give. You see, and I think that's it, because I don't think there's a way for a man to love his children with all his heart and not give them all that he can.
Yeah.
That's why I question that.
I couldn't, you know, like you said earlier again, I can't see how, you know, you can create something and not care for it, not be there for it, not, you know, but you can buy a new car and wash it, and keep it clean. You can do all those things. You can buy a new home, you'll mow your lawn every week. But you won't pick your child up every week.
Wow.
You know, I see a lot of that. You know, we see it all in Memphis. You know, it's you know, I work with the youth, so I see a lot of the different parenting that they come from. A lot of stuff that they deal with that I never dealt with. When I thought things were hard for me, I look at them like, man, I didn't have to deal with that. I don't think I could have handled that at that age. You know, so I see a lot of that. You know, and
do you think that comes, like I heard your earlier point, even about the neighborhood perspective, trying to look like what you're around? Do you think that even us as men, we have devalued what it is to be a good father, so much so that even those who are fathers don't find that as something to be proud of per se? So I'm proud of my car, I'm proud of my house. Do you think we've just devalued it so much so it's not even something to brag about?
Yeah, I think that's a loaded question, because I think that's definitely true, because originally I was going to say, I was thinking it was generational. Right? And then I would say it's spiritual. But then I have to say, actually, it's also mental or emotional, which means from the very onset, you know, it ties it all together: generational, spiritual, and emotional. And what I mean from that, even from the ancestors, right? Whatever's there, you know, it comes down the lineage, right? You know, the Bible says, you know, talks about it. God said, "I visit the iniquity of the fathers to the third and fourth generation," right? And so something he said was that he felt like, you know, Donté said that God was there. So I believe God has to step in to break that. And if God doesn't break that, then, or if a person go to what you said and doesn't have the intention to want to do that, God don't have anything to work with, right? It's like you know, you go in the kitchen, you be ready to eat your favorite meal and all the ingredients ain't there. Right? You have the desire to do it, but you don't have the ingredients necessary to fulfill it. That makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people, fathers, may have the desire to do it, but they don't necessarily have the ingredients.
Wow. I never thought of that. It's a great way to put that. You know. So I'll ask you a question, David. You know, with you, I'm gonna ask you a question. You know, we have a daughter. You don't have a daughter. You have sons. Right. So you know, I think you're missing out on something on that. It's a part. I think it may be a sign you don't really know that's there. If you have that daughter, you don't know it's there. I think the daughter's meant to bring something out. I'm gonna holler at my wife. I just think about, you know, you brought the question up to us with daughters, with putting the daughter out to this world. How about putting the son out to this world with what we see going on in the world and raising up a son, you know?
It's definitely, I mean, all honestly, I believe it's really more, I won't say more in the sense of levels, but it's a greater responsibility in this sense that that son, you know, he will be a father, you know, by the grace of God, and also a husband. Which means he won't be necessarily, you know, the dominant one, but he'll be the one caring, you know, for his wife and his children. Right. And so something my wife and I, we always strive to do is that we don't raise our boys to be good children.
That's good.
We raise them to be good men.
That's good. Okay.
Right?
That's good.
Because they're going to be men longer than their children.
That's good. I talk about that all the time.
They're going to be children for a short span of time.
Right.
You know, they say 0 to society 18. Right. But from 18 to 80.
Forever, man, that's a long time.
They could be men.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We don't, we're brought up different, but we have to give our children opportunity to express their mind.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give them opportunity to make choices and opportunity to make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't go check my kid's phone.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now if they give me a reason to or an inclination to do that,
Right.
then I do it, of course.
Right.
But I'm not going looking for something.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, you
Yeah.
know, and, because I feel like they have to, live their life responsibly, to the point, like you said, not being lorded over.
Yeah.
Not being lorded over.
Yeah.
And so, we raise them to be, good men, and you give them the opportunity to evaluate and make decisions. And then another thing that I try to do that I didn't have coming up is, be transparent with my kids in the sense of apologize.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Be like, you shouldn't apologize to your kid.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Well, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, in other words, you're creating a false dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because-
I'm always right.
Yeah, you're always right. That's good. That's good. And then when they do enter into adulthood, as you talked about earlier, they're never going to trust you to come to you and ask you for advice, because now they're still in their mind in the adolescent role, right?
Yeah.
And then that they can reciprocate that same toxic behavior with their children who not even apologize. It may take me a couple hours, but a day. But I try to always, if I'm wrong, I call them.
I'm wrong, but I'm still daddy, so watch how you accept
Right.
this apology.
Yeah, accept the apology, right? You know what I'm saying? And I try not to make excuses for my behavior.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
it may be an emotional decision. I may be having a bad day. It may be a lot on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I apologize. I called David the other day. I had, went off on,
At the
yeah,
moment.
at the moment, yeah. It wasn't like some other person.
Yeah.
It wasn't that level, but
It's good for him.
yeah.
But he felt it.
Yeah, he felt it. So I called him and I apologized. Hey man, I'm sorry. I apologize. That's pride too.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
had to let my pride down.
I've done it. I've done it.
And he was like, man, it's okay. And I stopped him. I said, it's really not.
Yeah.
I said, my goal is to never embarrass you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's other people around.
Yeah.
I said, man, I always want to hold you up to the high standard.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, and so.
And you teaching them something in that moment
Right.
too. Teaching them about, just respect.
Right.
Having respect for one another. We'll switch gears a little bit on you.
Yeah.
You spoke on something about being in a Muslim household.
Yeah.
And that sounds interesting. You
I'm a Christian.
You're a Christian.
Lord,
You love Jesus.
Right.
I've never met anyone
Mm-hmm.
that say, hey, I grew
Personally,
up,
right.
in a Muslim household, and I'm a Christian. I've never met anyone personally. I've heard of it, but
Mm-hmm.
that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. The transition was, if I be really transparent,
Right.
and I keep it really compact.
But we're gonna keep it Memphis. So
We're going to keep it Memphis.
You're real, yeah.
The way I believe as a Christian isn't far removed from the way I believed
Okay.
as a Muslim.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
Because as a Muslim, lifestyle mattered.
That's true.
Being a good father mattered.
Wow.
Having high moral standard mattered.
Mm.
See, God always knows what we need,
Mm.
right?
That's good.
And so I love being a Muslim because before I became a Muslim, I came from chaos. No structure, fighting, fussing, cussing. East St. Louis, Illinois. You argue all the time. Chicken on the table, you better get it or it's gone.
Wow.
Then being a Muslim, and now we look like the Huxtables for a few years. And so I loved the structure. Then when I found the fallacy in it, we can get into some real religious debates, and I found Jesus. Jesus didn't take away my structure. He showed me that it was a Christian standard to live holy. See, he couldn't take me as a Muslim and then give me It's just me now.
Okay.
He couldn't get me.
I know where you
He
going.
couldn't give me the, it's your thing, do what you want to do, Christian.
Grace.
He couldn't give me that.
Yeah.
Still, it would shock my brain.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my step really ain't that far. I didn't cheat. I don't cheat as a Muslim.
Yeah.
Don't cheat as a Christian.
So you already had those standards.
You get what I'm saying? Well, I already agreed with the mentality. Even when I messed up, I still agreed with it.
Okay.
So when I found what I believe the Bible's declaring, it made sense for me because it's still the same effort. But when I found Christ, I found it wasn't. I didn't win by works, but that didn't mean to stop trying.
That's good.
I won by grace, but keep trying, and it kept me.
Not saved by works.
But
it takes work.
We ain't supposed to speak in tongues. I feel I'm so Memphis, right? And that's one of the things, man. When God develops you, He don't take. I still got my gangster, but now my gangster is in defense of the Word of God and in defense of my property, my family. You breaking my house, we ain't praying. You breaking our church. My deacons have AK-47s because I'm so Memphis, but my boy is. We gonna handle it. You see what I'm saying? So I had to gain the understanding that it wasn't my works that won me, but that didn't discount the effort of the works to still live righteous and holy and work toward these kind of things. And I realized that when you take a man who already has a standard and you give him the power of the Holy Ghost, it's a problem.
Wow.
It's a problem. Jesus doesn't take. He meets Jesus. Paul meets Jesus. We believe on the Damascus road.
Right.
Paul got the same personality.
Exactly.
He found discipline, structure, and a new team.
Right.
He still was just as smart, just as thorough. They tried to let him out of prison. He's like, no.
Right.
You don't let me out like that. He beat me openly. Now you gonna try to sneak me out? I ain't going quietly. You see what I'm saying? So it's that energy. I did want to. I don't want to switch gears, but I want to just throw this out there. We were saying something earlier about how so many men don't value being fathers and they value their cars. This is just my belief. It's hard for you to want to be what you no longer desire yourself. So if I can make myself to survive my environment, feel like I don't need no daddy. So I can be a good daddy because I still want one. I still miss it. So I found I needed it in Christ. So the desire and the commitment that comes with that to give something off stays with me. But I think most guys to survive, that's why you would have to in your neighborhood. No one was saying we want to be where your daddy and we want one like your daddy. Right. Like, I don't need no nigga. I'm sorry. I don't need that. They said, I don't need that. You see what I'm saying? I don't need that in my life. So now I'm not trying to become it because I don't even think I need it. Right? So, but I still want it. I still think I need it. So I found it in spiritual fathers. I found it in some good, some bad. But I realized my desire wasn't wrong. I just put my trust in the wrong person. But because the desire is there, it helps me still stay motivated to be what. So as a two-part, I answered 2 in 1. The Muslim thing for me was really, it worked. It coincides for me in all transparency with the way I interpret Scripture. Okay. Because I see Christ. I know we don't like to talk about this, but there are always standards. Like it's all through there. Yeah, it is. It's all through there. We like to say he tell the woman, go your way, but he said, go your way and sin no more. Like, that's there. I didn't write that. Right. You get what I'm saying? But we tried to preach that part. They made me get married because they told me it's better married than burned. No, they said if you can't quit having sex, like that was the option. The church didn't say that. The scripture said. So man, like Jesus telling me, "Well, you all right, do whatever you want to do. You good?" But that ain't what the book say. And none of his interactions with people were that way. So to answer your question, it's really not that different. Okay. It's just better because now I know the truth of the grace of God. And not just the grace to get me out of trouble, but watch this. But now unto Him who's able to keep you from falling. Come on, man, that's good. And that's a grace to keep me standing. Watch this. Then there's also the grace that gives you the ability. There's a grace on Him financially. Some people try to do the same thing and it don't work. There's a grace. Like there's a grace on me to communicate. If you ask me about an apple, I'm gonna start talking about the cord, the seed. Like it just flows. Like I ain't trying to make it just. So there's a grace on those things, So that's what it is, and it was really cool. It was different. It was gravely disappointing when the man who taught me about Islam turned out to be a pedophile and an alcoholic. I went through a tailspin. I didn't want to be Christian because I thought Christians were dumb, silly, stupid, and emotional. So I thought. Didn't want to be Muslim anymore because now I found out the Muslim I was following was not. That's the worst thing you do to a young man is lie to him.
Yeah.
Tell him to be something and then you don't be it.
Wow,
You know.
wow.
So I'm sorry I didn't mean to talk that long. I got excited.
You spoke on trust though, you know, and trust that's for me. That was something for me, you know. Trust is always it still is at times I've gotten better, but it was always hard for me to just trust.
Wow.
You know, I just never, you know, really trust people. You know, I took the word, but I didn't put trust in that word.
Yeah.
You know, I always wanted to follow through. You know, give me a follow through, because I've always followed through. If I say something, I've always followed through with it.
Keep your word.
You know, because I've always been that type of person. You know, if I'm with you, I'm with you. You know, and that's how I always roll with my boys coming up. That's how it was. You know, I wasn't gonna start nothing, but if it popped off and I'm with you, I ain't running. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I've always been. You know,
That's a Memphis thing though. In Atlanta, they gonna take off running. That's why I don't get all